Welcome to Optimal Game State. Yesterday, a ton of videos went live as the embargo for a Skaventide box ended. Now, pre-orders go up next Saturday, so this week it is time to ask ourselves whether it is worthwhile us picking it up or not. The expected price for this box is £160, €210, or $265. That's based on a small print from a competition, but we'll get confirmation on that for Monday once it starts going out to the local stores. This does appear to be a good value box. But remember, this is all GW prices, so the idea of value is illusion at best. There is a ton of stuff in the box, and it can be split into kind of three, maybe four elements. So first we've got the minis, so the Stormcast and the Skaven armies. There are tons of minis in here. This obviously is going to be the main draw. We are expecting to see both of these armies released separately as Spearhead boxes. Now, currently a Spearhead box for the other factions costs £87, €115, or $145. So just on the two warbands alone, we are looking at the big box to be cheaper than buying both of the individual spearheads. Obviously, there are a couple of provisions to that. First, if you aren't interested in either of these armies, then it is a waste of money. Doesn't matter how good a deal you get for them if you're not going to use them, if you're not going to paint them, just look good. If you're interested in one and only one of the armies, then you might have a shot at selling the other army. But as we've seen with big box releases like Dominion and Leviathan, the market tends to get a bit flooded. And if you're willing to wait a while, the sprues inevitably get reused and end up quite cheap. Now, we do still have value from the rest of the box to account for. So even if you just want one of the armies, it might still be worth it. Along with the models, we get the new Age of Sigmar rulebook and the General's Handbook, although it is in the form of a pack of cards this time. Now, the rulebook for 40k currently is £42, €55, and $65. So that's the estimated price point. It might be a little bit more once it comes out. That said, you can normally pick up the Leviathan version for a fraction of that price. It's also an unfortunate reality that GW rulebooks will eventually get replaced, and many players just stick to the online version of the rules instead. If you are planning on playing the full Age of Sigmar game for the next few years, then it's probably going to be a worthwhile investment. Rulebook and a single army still comes to less than the full box though. So we will need to have a look at the Spearhead rules, which are also in this box. So this has the Fire and Jade book, which I believe has reprinted all of the Age of Sigmar rules you need to play for this Spearhead format. And it also has the rules for each of the spearheads currently available. So that's both of the armies in this box, and then a bunch of them for the rest of the factions. The cards in this pack are used with the spearheads, and the board, which is a Warcry size board, is there specifically for spearhead. It's about half the size you'd need for a full game of Age of Sigmar. And then you could probably also count the terrain here as part of the Spearhead pack. Now, a lot of the pieces for this, so the cards and the boards, do refer to each other. So the cards tend to be kind of objectives and kind of special plays, and they will specify one of these big circles on the boards. So if you want to play Spearhead, this pack is probably something you're going to need. It might get printed separately, which I kind of hope it does, because if it's only available in this box, then that suggests that GW aren't really going to be supporting it. Whereas if they do this as a standalone release, then that is something that would be useful. Either way, if you're looking to get involved in Spearhead, it does look like this set, whether you get it within this box or whether you get it secondhand, someone who's playing the box, it does look like that's how you get into it. Now, content creators have been pretty positive about Spearhead so far, but they were also quite positive about the Combat Patrol, which is the 40k equivalent. Unfortunately, Combat Patrol is now just considered to be a entry game, basically, with new players typically playing it for one or two games and then moving on to the full 40k game after that. If that is the case with Spearhead, then it might be a bit of a dud, but at the very least, it would be something you could put together a two-player intro game in, which, if you've watched my channel for a while, you know is something I'm always very keen on, getting a set of stuff that you can get a friend in and you can go and play. As a side note, we absolutely are expecting to see Warcry rules for these fighters. So there is an extra usability in this box, in that, once you kind of start with it, you will be able to play Spearhead, you will be able to play Warcry, and then it's a bit of a jump after that. So I believe it's about 1,200 points each, and you're looking for roughly 2k armies to get into Age of Sigmar proper. So you got some room, but this gives you a great start into it. Okay, so let's sum all of this up. The first question is, can you afford this? GW is a luxury purchase, so please do give considerations on whether that money would be better spent elsewhere, maybe on a significant other or dependent. Because yeah, often there's just an impulse for us to spend money to, you know, get the next big new thing without kind of looking at whether it is worthwhile for us or not. The second question is whether you're going to be playing at least one faction. This box is a really good deal, but only if you're playing at least one of the armies. If you're not going to be playing one of these armies, then the quality that you're getting out of this is going to be the Age of Sigmar book and the Spearhead pack, which you'll probably be able to get cheaper at a kind of split box or further down the line once GW release them separately. So yeah, this is something you're going to be honest with yourself about. I have picked up many armies myself where I've definitely said I do intend to play them, I just never get around to it. And in this particular case, I have been working on a Slaves to Darkness army, so I think that's going to be my focus for the new Age of Sigmar, rather than worrying about Stormcaster Skaven, even though I did pick up a bunch of Skaven miniatures recently and I'm quite enjoyed painting them. They're a lot of good fun. The last question to ask is whether you're up to actually painting all of this. And when you do, what in your backlog is going to get pushed back to let you do this? So often we focus on whatever the new hotness is, basically hoping it's going to be great, it's going to be fun, it's going to be a good experience. But a lot of the time, going back to the backlog and finishing whichever game, whichever project we had already that we went into with the exact same intentions, but never quite finished up. That might be a better way to focus instead. So yeah, for me, the Cursed City series is something I've been enjoying a lot. I've got a lot painted up for it, and if I just push through a little bit more, I probably have a Soulblight Gravelords Age of Sigmar army, quite frankly. So I'm not too far off that because of the work I've already done. So maybe that's something I should be looking at myself rather than worrying about this new box. So just a quick overview, something that maybe you'll kind of keep in mind, because I know a lot of the other channels who actually have the content are just saying how great it is and how wonderful it is, and they're not wrong, but is it right for you? That's the question you need to ask. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible two-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.